What's up, everybody? How we doing? It's been great to be back. Had the cruise, and it's literally been, I guess, a week about at this point. So it's weird. It feels strange. Not gonna lie. I'm catching up. You guys know we went live for the Kelce retirement, but besides that, got back super late last night and playing catch up and figuring out what's going on, basically. So, but it's the Tuesday night hangout. It's the live Q&A. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let me know, as always, where you're listening from. Give you the shout out. It is great to be back. Alex Cruz, how's it going? Chris, what's up, man? Philly fan, Ken Lewis, Jasper Henson, the K-Dude, Neil Taylor, Jay Koch. Let's see, Robert Alessandrini, Lar Powell, Fanny Eagles fan. Oh, no, not in a good place, I see. Well, thank you. Well, you said welcome back. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry that you're not in a great place. I think a lot of us, maybe not in the best place with the Kelce retirement official. We kind of saw that coming, but curious to get everybody's thoughts. And what's the greatest memory, I guess, of Kelce? Just when you think of it, I mean, what's the first thing? And maybe that's too hard of a question because I had the same realization of that as we were watching the press conference and reflecting on it and going back and, like, what's the favorite memory? I don't know if I can just say a for sure. There's tons of them. The Super Bowl speech is right there at the top of the list. As sad as it is and hard to, reflect on, I guess, he crushed the press conference, which is not really, I guess, surprising for Jason Kelce. And, we know who he is. But the dude's just unapologetically himself, and that's why he's so awesome. And that's why we love him. I hate that he's gone. Felt like he was going to already be gone anyway. I was holding out hope, yes, but I think we saw it coming. But yeah, appreciate everybody asking. How's everybody doing? Jasper Henson, Josh, what's up? Frank from Philly. What's up, Josh? How's it going, Frank? Philip J. What's up, man? Alex from Pennsylvania. Iron Gamer, will Tyler Steen be starting? That's a good question. I don't know. It feels... If I had to answer that now, I mean, we got so long to figure that out and what they're going to do in free agency and draft and beyond, even in training camp. But I would say no, just as of right now. Now, we'll see. But the Eagles are meeting with several different interior offensive linemen. I think we're, up to like 4 official visits. So they're going to have options, and it does feel like maybe you're getting a little bit more of a focus on interior offensive linemen recently from those potential visits and draft prospects and things like that. So who knows? Maybe he surprises, and maybe he does. But he was drafted for a reason, sure. So maybe he also takes a step, get another year with Stoutland and correcting some of the issues and mistakes. I will say that I think that we're going to be fine at center. I got several of those questions, not only during the live whenever we went live yesterday, but also just through the chat and comments and Twitter and everything else. But we're going to be okay. Like, it's not Jason Kelce okay, but, like, come on. For some reason, like, I know this is not everybody, but for some reason there were a decent amount of questions. It's like, hey, what are we going to do at center? So we have Cam Jurgens. He's going to be good. Like, Jason picked him as his successor for a reason. He's not a right guard. He's a center, and he's going to be good. LA Kid 17, what's up? How's it going? Lanky, my guy. Hope the trip was good. The trip was awesome. The trip was phenomenal. It was too short, as everything that's awesome usually is. But yeah, I got to hang out with the bros and some friends and everything else. Visited Cozumel and ran into... There was actually a Birds fan on the trip. So shout out to, I guess, the one individual. But yeah, it was fun. Nate says, welcome back. Appreciate it. Mike Halo, how's it going, man? Philip J says, yeah, the Super Bowl speech had me crying. That's me too. That's probably the top moment. Alex Cruz says every moment. That's fair. I guess you could just throw them all in there, lump them all together. Cisco says, Jason Kelce will forever be an icon in our city. Go Birds. Heck yeah, go Birds. Without a doubt. I mean, I think Jason could do literally... I know that Kylie said this. His wife Kylie had said this before about, like, he'll be successful at whatever he does. But, like, for real, he will... Whatever he wants to do, he'll be successful at. The amount of clout that he has in literally anything is... I mean, it's the Kelce effect. That's literally what it is. So I'm with you on that. Star Devil, hi, will always love the Philly special for sure, without a doubt. Then followed it up also with when Kelce screamed at the Dallas game. That was a pretty good clip. Definitely the viral ones when Kelce is involved. I liked him dancing too. NFC Championship game, dancing after the touchdown. Jorge Mendoza, what's good from San Diego? There you go. What's up? How's it going? Appreciate you guys hanging out. Mike says, yeah, talking about Cam, says, I think Cam is going to move to center, and Steen, I would think, would be the right guard, but we shall see. He was a second-round pick after all. Yeah. I mean, you pick him for a reason. He was third-round pick for Steen. But still, he was high. You know, you wanted him for a reason. I don't know if it was they took him too of more of a tackle possibility. You know, I mean, obviously he played left tackle at Alabama, but still, you know, he did get slotted in there. What, like 2 games? 1 game for a start, and then was it the Washington game, if I'm not mistaken, where he basically started. He played quite a bit whenever Juergens got injured. But yeah, like, you used a decent amount of capital anytime you're in the first 3 rounds. And I don't think you should write him off by any means. But at the same time, yeah, like if you find that there's a prospect out there that's either falling to you or you're really excited about, then wouldn't hate it if you go after right guard. Obviously, anyone with Stoutland is going to be, you know, automatically better chances. But yeah, would definitely not. It wouldn't be my favorite. I will say that. You guys know, I've said, I think the majority of us, it feels like and sounds like the majority is saying, hey, let's take something for defense. So I think we're about in that scenario. But I also would not put it past them if all of a sudden it's like, hey, we went O-lineman in the first round. Serenity, the speech Jason Kelce gave before the Saturday before Super Bowl teared me up. Sure going to miss it. Yeah, for sure. That was also a really good one. I mean, the entire documentary, too, you could just throw that out there. But, you know, just getting to see the inside perspective of Jason Kelce. Yeah, that dude. What got me the most during the press conference, and I tweeted this out, so a lot of you guys may have already seen this, but was him talking about being a dad. He's like, you know, hey, one of the best things you be in this world is a dad. You know, I had a great one, but he's like, being present for your children and being there for them is one of the best things that you can do, especially in this society today. And I'm like, man, that just... like being a girl dad and like being a dad, that just hit me differently. You know, all of what he said was incredible, but that to me was, I don't know, that might've been the home run from my side. Cause it's like, he's obviously been reflecting, thinking, hey, do I want to give this another go? Do I want to retire and spend more time with my family, spend more time with my girls? And again, as a girl dad, is like, I hate that he's gone, but like, I get it. You know, family is incredibly important to me. So I kudos to him. Obviously a legend. As K-Dude says, without Kelce, the tush push is going to be weaker. Yeah, probably. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. But again, I guess the question is like, how much weaker? You know, if it still converts at 90% of the time, I think we're fine. I think we'll be all right. Tyrone, what's good, Josh? How's it going? We are just hanging out. Great to be back with you guys after almost a week hiatus. So it feels weird. I'm not going to lie. It's just getting back and talking about Eagles and the cruise also. Like, I tried to get some service to try to stay up to speed, but something was not working with the cell service and the coverage and everything there. So it was literally flying blind or selling blind, whatever you want to say, for like 4 days. That was probably the strangest and maybe withdrawal part of it, that I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot figure out what's going on for the last, 2 or 3 days. So that was strange. But we are catching back up and talking birds, but we're all good. Tycho says, is Brandon Graham coming back? Apparently he is. It would seem very likely. Shout out to Jake Rabati, who said that Brandon Graham, he got quote tweeted by Ian Rappaport, but let me see if I can find this tweet. Let's see. Here we go. We've got there's a couple tweets that go along with this, so let's just go in order. But first off, there you go. Shout out to Jake Rabati at Birds Country of the Liberty Line. Shout out to Liberty Line as well if you're not following them. But it says breaking: Eagles legend Brandon Graham will return to the team in 2024. Sources told Liberty Line he will be back on a new contract and is not expected to hit the open market. So there you go. Jake's called a couple other ones before everybody else is reported. So if you haven't followed or caught up, like the Tyler Guyton news, the Eagles meeting with Jeremiah Trotter, contract numbers for Julian Okwara and several of the other players, that he went ahead and shared the numbers, and then like 2 or 3 days later was verified by, your more like national reporters. So like I trust Jake on this one. I get it if there's like some skepticism or people saying like, oh, hey, a national reporter is not exactly on board with that. And then, you did have Ian Rappaport, who jumped in there and quote tweeted and said, while there is a mutual interest and a deal could come prior to free agency, there's no agreement yet for the Eagles and Brandon Graham. So again, I mean, like, Jake didn't even say that. If you're reading the tweet, like, he didn't say that there's an agreement. He's just saying that he's going to return to the team. But, who knows officially? Is it official that he's coming back? No, but I mean, right there, it's just about going to happen. So I don't know. I can't say definitively, but I'm just saying from reading the tea leaves, Jake has been right about several other of these reports. I'm going to go with that Brandon Graham is returning. It wouldn't be too crazy anyway. The fact that BG said he wants a farewell tour, he wants to come back to Philly, he doesn't want to retire. So we'll see. And I think Jake had one more on here. Let me find that other tweet that he said about BG. Yeah, here's the last part of that, I think, or the follow-up. Basically saying he's reluctant to put things out there that he's not extremely confident in. Earlier this offseason, a source explained that BG would either retire or return to Philly. And then obviously he's not going to be retiring because he said he wants to come back. So, I mean, I would lean to believe, and probably most people are in the same case, but like, BG wants to be there. I mean, he's wanting to play, and for good reason. But yeah, like, if he wants to come back, he'll probably take a team-friendly deal. We'll take that. But again, we'll wait until it's officially official, I suppose. But yeah, Cisco says, what do you think about CJ Gardner return rumors? I saw that. Getting a lot of playing catch-up here and going like, all right, what's true, what's rumor, what's speculation? And there's going to be a ton of that, naturally. But yeah, if you did not see, let me try to throw this one up here too, because CJ Gardner-Johnson is potential of Philly and returning. Let's see if I can get this one full screen here. All right, there we go. So, yeah, this is from Tony Pauline. So, I mean, I think most of us do, but Tony Pauline has a potential of returning to Philly, or at least a rumor. So it says Philadelphia Eagles will look to bring in a safety in the offseason via free agency or the draft. People at the Combine get the sense that there's a real chance the Eagles bring back CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's scheduled to hit the free agent market. Gardner-Johnson played for the Eagles in 2022 before signing a one-year deal with the Lions, as we all know. So, not a ton there, but it's still the speculation of you're talking to people, and it feels like it's interesting when he says it like that too, because on one side I could say, yeah, that's a fair assessment because we need a safety, and you could link a lot of different potential candidates to come to Philly. But the way that CJ Gardner-Johnson left, I don't know. Like, to me, I'm not saying it's like ridiculous, but at the same time, it would be kind of strange to me. I don't know, unless there's just the right number. But Howie didn't seem to value CJ Gardner-Johnson as nearly as high. So I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on that. I feel like if I had to bet on it or just pick, it's less likely that CJ Gardner-Johnson returns at the moment. I'd be okay with it personally. I mean, I'd be fine. They want to bring him back, get that energy, some intensity on the defense. It's fine with me. Donovan, what's up? Says favorite memory from Kelce is playing baritone sax with the Philadelphia Orchestra. Yeah, I remember that one. That was really good too. Just the dress up and everything. Says I've played trumpet for 15 plus years, and it was nice to hear him get to play with professionals. That is awesome. That is really cool. I can't say I can't say I really play really any instrument. I suppose guitar is barely there, but not even worth mentioning, honestly. So I have a lot more respect really for anyone who can play an instrument. So kudos to you. 15 plus year. That's quite a while. Devontae, what's up? Appreciate it. Says I hope I had a great time with family and friends. Also, Kelce's speech had me tearing up a bit, for sure. I don't know of really many people at all that, I mean, if you have any sort of connection with the Eagles, with Kelce, with the team, all of the runs that they've had, the ups, the downs, everything, like Kelce's been through it all. So, I mean, heck, it was even what John Ritchie on WIP was losing it. And that even was like hard to just hear him because you're like, man, like you just feel how much it means so much more than just football to everybody. And that's just the most difficult part. But, yeah, it's losing a legend. Wish him the best. It probably honestly is not gonna hit me until like it's kind of hitting me, and you see these people that are tearing up too, like especially publicly, and then you go back and watch these thank you videos and all this other stuff. But it's probably not gonna hit me until like maybe the preseason. There'll be like ebbs and flows of it, I feel like, but like the true like wow, okay, he's gone. To me, it may not be until maybe the first preseason game, or I'm thinking even like the first regular season game of like, man, he's legit not here. I don't know. We'll see. But I've just been like, I don't know. I'm still maybe in denial. Just the fact that it's like he's always, and he's an Eagle for life for sure. But it's just going to be strange. Jeremiah Butler, what's up? Says I'm watching from San Diego. There you go. Also that we have to find a replacement for Lane Johnson. Yeah, I agree. We're probably going to have to find a replacement there. But I don't know, it'd be interesting to see where that'll come from. I will say that. John Kempsky, let's go. Just became a member. Let's run it tier. Appreciate that. Shout out to you. Let's see here. Got some other comments that we should go to. Jeremiah's asking, how old is CJ Gardner-Johnson? Let's see. How old is he? 26. I don't know why I wanted to say like 27 or 28, but yeah, 26 years old. Could definitely be a possibility. I still think it's unlikely, but yeah, like Go Philly says, CJ Gardner-Johnson did talk some smack about the Eagles. For sure. About the Eagles, about the city. He had some stuff stolen, obviously. I think most of us remember that. But depending on the contract size, from his perspective, I'm sure he can forget or forgive or things like that. But then, yeah, like personally, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that Howie or certainly Howie won't really buy into that. I don't think as much. But I just really feel like he doesn't value it maybe to the same magnitude, I mean, just from, again, what he was willing to offer CJ Gardner-Johnson. Now, is that because of the possibility of the risk factor? Like that sometimes CJ gets really emotional and Howie wants someone who's a little less likely to be in that situation? I don't know. Possibly. But it did seem like he offered him a contract where you're sitting there going like, man, that's a little strange. And then, he doubled down on paying Slay and Bradbury. We saw how at least one of those turned out. But yeah, it'd be a little strange. Yeah, seeing comment about what L'Jarius Sneed possibility. Yeah, I know that he's a name thrown out there, but again, with him being, and I'm seeing some more comments now of franchise tag. Yeah, with him being tagged, you have to trade so much. If he's just out there for the taking as a free agent, that would have been one thing. The fact that you'd have to trade for him, seems like there's a lot of options, or a decent amount, maybe not a lot, but a decent amount of options, whether you go draft or you try to trade. But understandably, I mean, teams are high on corners. It's difficult to find a guy and then keep a guy in that scenario. So I can understand why, if you're the Bears and you're going to tag Jalen Johnson, and you're the Chiefs and L'Jarius Sneed, and, you try to keep or hold on to those players. And I don't necessarily want to go old or older. I know some of the other players like Xavier Howard, who was waived, and kind of like stopgap options. We got to get younger. Frankie Ray, what's up? How's it going? Says, I'm thinking Howie might not draft a corner in the first round due to all the first round corners are all press and will be playing zone. What do you think? Yeah, that's a good question. I think you're right in the sense that the vast majority, or I'd say the majority of them, are more of those like press type corners. But there's a decent amount that, for one, have the ability to play in both scenarios. But also, like, Quinyon Mitchell is not, the knock on him is the fact that he just didn't play a lot of press coverage. So I think that if there's one corner in my mind, and y'all know if you follow the channel, like, Quinyon Mitchell is my number one corner. But if he's available, I think it's a perfect fit because he didn't play as much press coverage. He's more of your kind of off the receiver in zone situations, and he was a ball hawk. I mean, he made a lot of plays, but I think that he would fit really well. But I don't know. It's kind of tough to say because, like, if you have a guy who played a certain way like all the time in college, I get that it could be a little bit more difficult. But, if you get the right guy, I think you could teach them. I think you can, mold them in a specific area, even if you're saying, hey, let's play less press coverage. Let's have you play in zone in an instance. Again, I mean, I know it totally makes a difference. But like I say, Quinyon Mitchell to me is at the very top, and I think he would fit in really well. So I don't know if he's going to be available at 22, like we talked about. You might have to like trade up in that sense. But yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. You got to see what you have available if you want to make a splash, or if some player, makes it all the way down to 22 for you. Yeah, Jay saying, can't wait to see this week to see what they do. I don't see Fangio being okay with a rookie safety. Yeah, they're gonna they're gonna go back through and surely they're gonna find someone. I think they have to. I can't imagine that that they're gonna be okay with that. They're gonna take a look, and Fangio's going to say, all right, look, and it's not really a surprise because he does. The middle of the field, we've talked about a number of times, linebacker, safety, you're going to figure something out, but I'm excited. I'm looking forward to see what they do because there's going to be a ton of moves. And like I've titled here, there's a lot of exciting options in free agency. There's lots of options in the draft, which we can get into as well. Curious to get y'all's takeaways from the combine, which I guess, heck, is a good time to bring up the question here. Fanny Eagles fan, did you catch any of the combine? Who were you most impressed with? Yeah, so I caught a tiny bit. So for anyone who's taking a cruise, that like there are TVs there. So I was able to see a little bit. I didn't personally have service, but thankfully was able to watch a little bit from the time on the ship. Yeah, I mean, Worthy, I'm seeing some comments below of Worthy. That was nuts. Anytime you have a break in the record of the 40 is just ridiculous. I think he naturally, for a record like that, a 4.21, something that it's crazy. I think corner was what I really kept my eye on. So again, like a Quinyon Mitchell, he was rumored to be able to run a 4.3, and the fact that he backed it up was really good. So that was impressive. I think that who was it? Was it Mitchell, the Clemson corner? He was even. He was like 4.2. What was he? 4.29, 4.2. What was he? Was he 4.2? He was in the 4.2s. 4.28. Yeah, Wiggins, not Mitchell. I was saying Quinyon Mitchell, but yeah, Wiggins from Clemson, 4.28. So yeah, anytime you're putting up numbers like that, you're certainly turning some heads. So yeah, I think naturally, again, to me, I guess 40 is what I watch the most. I know there's a lot of other areas to focus on, but just like the speed and backing up, I didn't realize that Worthy was that fast, honestly. So the 4.21 was ridiculous. I mean, watched him quite a bit because I went to Baylor, so you're watching like Big 12 games and seeing quite a bit of those. Naturally, Texas is gone, moving to the SEC, but still, like, I knew he was good. I just didn't realize that he had that type of burner speed, and that's a game changer. Like Lon says here, yeah, can't teach speed. That is a trait that either you have it or you don't, and it's pretty incredible. Now, obviously, yeah, I think that I'm seeing also the Worthy at 22 comment. You can't go Worthy. We're way too good with receiver. Fanny though says, I still think if he's available at 22, we should get J.C. Latham from Bama. I would love J.C. Latham. I really would. I think I talked about it last time, but Lane Johnson is a big fan of J.C. Latham. He's a big fan of him and big fan of Tyler Guyton. So, I mean, if it's good enough for Lane Johnson, it's good enough for me. Eagles Edit, what's good, bro? How do you feel about Jason Kelce retiring? Yeah, we're kind of just hanging out, talking about free agency options, the combine, and also reflecting on Jason Kelce. But I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss, really. Like I can totally appreciate it. He's the GOAT. I mean, one of my favorite Eagles. Like it's really like B-Doc and him right up there, like neck and neck. And I don't know that I can really choose because it's like two different eras, and one was like an intro to the Eagles, and the other one was like a, for the last 13 years. So I don't know. It's just it's strange. It's strange when you have someone that you followed for so long and being a part of the team, and you just recognize it's like it's like synonymous with the team. Like you say Eagles, you think Jason Kelce. Like they're just together. You say Jason Kelce, you think Eagles. So it's tough. It's tough to have a legend like that going, but I can totally understand it. I appreciate it. The honesty and transparency, I think that's what makes him so great and so likable. Is like people just gravitate to someone who's being real, and he's 100% himself. He was the exact same way in his presser. He's not. I mean, heck, he shows up in like the sleeveless. That it's like, man, he could have gone with like the suit and tie look or whatever. But it's like, hey, that's Jason Kelce. He's being himself. He's completely authentic. Wish him well. He's going to be super successful. If he decides to go broadcasting, if he decides to coach and stay with the team somehow, if it's an assistant O-line coach or whatever, that would be awesome. But yeah, it's one of those that kind of tough to fully realize. And like I said earlier, I don't think it's going to hit me until we play a game and say, all right, well, hey, there's Cam Jurgens, maybe in the regular season. Yeah, Jeremiah Butler also talking about the combine. The dude Chop Robinson's next Aaron Donald. That's high praise. I mean, I don't know necessarily I would go there yet, but I agree. There's tons of potential. Definitely showed up on that side. Psylocke, why isn't DeAndre Swift signed back yet? I mean, it's not a huge surprise. Again, it's like I would love for him to be signed back, and they weren't going to tag him either. So it's where they're at with DeAndre Swift. But it's Howie's MO. It's what he does. That's feeling like the running back situation, he can go and get somebody, and if that's, I just hope that he can again. We'll see. But there's been some cap space wise, I know it's magic, and I don't. There's a reason that Howie and the staff are so good at rearranging the cap and figuring it out and everything else. But it does seem like if he really, really wanted to, he could. But he's made it work with a number of different runners, and I think that he's just setting his ways on we can make that happen, or just at least seeing, okay, you know what, Swift, you can test the market, see what it's going to be, and I would imagine he's at least saying, "Hey, give us the right to or the chance to match." But I'm kind of setting my heart on saying that Swift is probably going to be gone. Maybe he's not. Hopefully not. But I think he will be. Yeah, Dexter says free agency just needs to hurry up and get here. I'm with you. I'm so ready to actually get some things established and see where this team's going to go, what holes are going to be filled, um, where what people are going to say too. I mean, we've got. I would love, and again, this is why he's on the thumbnail. So if you were seeing it beforehand or you're tuning in now, whatever, like to me, Xavier McKinney, safety for the Giants, like they are not tagging him, so he's an option and a possibility. Seeing this team and knowing what we have or what we don't have, that would be, man, that would be to me that would be a home run. You got to pay a lot for a Xavier McKinney, but just his play style at 24 years old, I think that would be a very good investment. I mean, this is just hypothetical here, but also just for a spot track potential, of what you'd pay or the average annual salary estimator, $10.4 million. I feel like it'll take a little more than that to get him, especially with the cap going up. Maybe not. Maybe it's 10.4. But if it is, that would be a home run to me. So I mean, at least a lot better in terms of that than C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Not that it's impossible, but Mr. Bo, I know you'll eventually see my comment. Yeah, okay. I think I did see it earlier, but yeah, the Blankenship be taught linebacker. No, no way. Sorry, he's not. No, it sure, yeah, you could maybe solve issues if you can get a guy who's got some hybrid ability. He can move a little bit into the box at times and, move around a tiny, but he's not that's really not an option in my mind. I don't think I think he's either a safety or he's a backup safety. Like he's going to either be the guy that the Eagles say, you know what? Nope, we still saw enough from him. Fangio likes enough from what he saw, and that's one of the safety spots, or he says, it's okay, but let's just have him as a backup. And he'd be a solid one, but I highly doubt you're going linebacker with Reed. Especially, I mean, just, again, looking at Fangio, previous linebacker situations, you're not only talking about like size, but also learning the position and getting in there. That yeah, it just doesn't really seem like a possibility. Jay says Kelce for mayor. If he wanted it, I think he could just easily go and get that, or whatever he wants to do. If he wants to be in the broadcast booth, he can get in there. Let's see here. Jay says, "Hey Josh, if you had to pick, who are you taking, McConkey or Ricky Fearson? Is it Fearson? You're talking about? Is that the Florida Fearson? Is it Pierce? Isn't it Pearsall? Who is that? Yeah, Is it Pearsall or Pearsall? I think that's. I'm assuming that's who you're going with. The differences between those, but yeah. I mean, I'd probably say. I'd probably say McConkey right now. I mean, McConkey's got. I feel like more of the name, or I know he's at like average draft position is higher. I still would probably go that route, but I think that there's a possibility for when all is said and done. Like you could make the case that there's a better option to go with Ricky instead of McConkey. But I don't know that either of those options or either of those players are going to be a legit option, because I still keep saying, like, first round, in my mind you have to go defense. Realistically, it's like I said, not going to surprise me if the Eagles go with an O lineman. But either way, like second round, it seems like if they go O line, then you have to go defense with your next pick, or even next two, really, or vice versa. Like if you go defense in the first, I have to imagine they're going to try to go with an offensive lineman. So I don't know. It feels unlikely. Maybe not. Maybe it's not impossible. Yeah, Fanny says, after the combine, who would you now prefer, Terrion Arnold or Kool-Aid McKinstry? Arnold's stock went up higher than Kool-Aid's, in my opinion. Yeah, I would say Terrion Arnold for sure. And honestly, I was saying before the combine, I was still probably leaning towards Arnold before that. So like I said, yeah, like after the combine, not really a question. I would do that. Where was someone had a mock draft, I think. There's a million mock drafts these days, but it was I think a more prominent mock draft that had the Eagles trading up to take Arnold, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where that is now. I'm gonna have to try to find that. But yeah, if you're going between those, oh yeah, it was okay. So Anthony shared it, but it was from Dane Brugler, who did a post-combine mock draft. And then, yeah, and I'll share it right here. But, yeah, so there's Dane Brugler, who, if you guys don't follow, I would highly recommend, because he's got a ton of great draft coverage and grades on players and everything else. And I use a lot of, like, Dane's got a big board as well. Great, I think, breakdowns on different prospects and everything. But, yeah, in his most recent mock draft, there you see it. But Eagles trading up to select Terrion Arnold. And like Anthony said, would make a lot of sense on and off the field. Elite CB1 potential with an attitude and confidence to become a leader in Philadelphia's locker room. So, yeah, I think beforehand, like I say, was already kind of leaning that way. But hearing the thoughts and even seeing the mock draft there, I would definitely like that more. So, yeah, if I'm going to be happy, really, if it's a corner, like I've said, in general. But if you get one of those guys, I'm going to be ecstatic on draft night. Douglas says, what are your thoughts of possibly moving Bradbury to safety or slot corner? I mean, I'm sorry, but I would say we just move on from Bradbury altogether. He is. This is probably too hurtful, maybe for some people, but like he's a lost cause. I'm sorry. I know it was just one season. Maybe you get Christian Parker and you change something or get a difference, but I think he's done. I just confidence level from the Super Bowl hold was never the same player. We saw that. They tried to play him in slot some, and I get it's difficult to learn a new position. So you're like, hey, play slot at times, then move it outside, just going all over the place. But I don't see it. He's, to me, even if he could learn and be decent coverage-wise as safety, he's not a good enough tackler. He's not a willing enough tackler to me. And then, yeah, just I think we saw enough, in my opinion, from slot corner to say, like, that's not going to work. So it won't surprise me if he gets cut. And I know people will say, like, hey, that's a big cap hit and everything else, but I mean, heck, I know we're not the Denver Broncos, but that was a crazy cap hit for Russell Wilson. And if you end up doing that, then I could still see Howie saying, you know what? No, I don't want a veteran hanging around here. I want my young guys to play. I want opportunities for Keely Ringo, for Eli Ricks, and or who I draft. Because, I mean, that's the question, too. Like, if you draft a corner in the first round, you know, there's still high stock on Keely Ringo. I really believe that. And someone on Eli Ricks, but I think he's a little bit below Keely Ringo. But if you have plans on going in and drafting a corner, and you could do that after, I suppose, just wait until you figure out what the draft shakes out like. But still, like, it makes it easier to say, well, okay, I've got this veteran corner on the roster. Do you just hang on to him and say, well, he's a depth piece, but we're paying him all this money? I think you could very easily say, nope, sorry, we're going to eat it. Yeah, it's going to be a cap hit, but just move on from him. I don't know. It wouldn't totally shock me. Ravi, what's up? Says, great to hang out with you, Josh. Finally, I always catch this post-airing. Just got here, so apologies if this was already answered. Do you see us trading Reddick? If yes, for what return? Good question. Yeah, I mean, I know Reddick's been heating up. There's been possibilities, kind of some mock trades of Atlanta and Houston, I think, have been the main two. There may be another one that I'm forgetting. I don't think it's out of the question. I just would be curious to know what teams are going to be willing to trade for. How much are they going to be willing to give up for Haason Reddick? You know, age-wise, then you got to be able to either take the deal or figure out a deal, whatever that looks like. I don't think that we should, and I've said that multiple times. I still don't think that we should. Looking at this team, this roster, you need the swag, you need the presence on the team and some veteran leaders. I think you're probably going to get it, whether that's via some trades or free agency, more likely with free agency. But still, like, I think Reddick, if you're going to bank on one guy, and I know that Sweat's contract is not here yet, but it's going to be soon. So maybe it's next offseason, you know, that you try to decide there what you're doing. But, like, I think if you're betting on one of them, I think you pay Reddick. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that, you know, you age-wise, you say, well, he's about to be 30, so you should just move on from him. But I don't know. I mean, if you're looking at a lot of mock trades, it's saying like, hey, Haason Reddick, and at best a second-round pick. And I can understand, hey, again, he's getting up there with age. Do you possibly do that? I know that he wants $25 million, so it's not going to be cheap. But I think that, you know, hey, for what it's worth and his ability to rush the passer, even at that age, I still think that he can be productive. So I would pay him. You free up $11 million if you do extend him and get a deal done. Free up $11 million, you know, for this year. I don't know. It's not surprising that, you know, you're still trying to figure something out, but, you know, you see the ability of, or I guess the willingness of what other teams want to offer him, and then you just go from there. But I'm still on the side of the fence of keep him. You know, figure out a deal, get it done. I know there's disagreements with that, but that's where we're at. Mr. Bo says there's a few mocks with Latu being at 22, which surprises me. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about him, honestly. I know it's kind of joking, but like the whole firefighter comment that he gave that a thought, or gave that a little bit while he was dealing with the medical issues and stuff. You know, I know it's very different, but the whole Danny Watkins thing just comes to mind, and I just don't know that I want a firefighter situation. So, you know, hey, kudos to all the firefighters, very much appreciated, all the servicemen and women, but that just there's some PTSD from a situation like that. So I don't know if he falls that far. It is good value based on, you know, some projections and things like that, but I don't know. Dylan, what's up? How's it going, man? How was the trip? The trip was great. It was too short, but we're here. Got back in super late last night and feel like I've been playing catch up basically all day, but it was a blast. We had a good time. But yeah, question now that the combine happened, who do you want most in the draft if it's changed now? Good question. I mean, it probably hasn't changed for me. There's been some, I guess moving up and down on like draft boards and things like that, and I still need to dive in a little deeper into that situation. But I still think that I would hold to a Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, the dude ran a 4.3 at the combine, and kind of solidified it. So I would say, fit wise, at 22, it doesn't seem totally unrealistic. It does feel like you probably have to trade up to like a 16 maybe to go get him. Possibly he falls to 22, but based on some mock drafts and potentials of where guys would be, you might have to trade up a few slots. But yeah, I'd say personally, I would still be very comfortable and loving it if we get Quinyon Mitchell. I don't know. But after the combine, I will also say that based on reports, I don't know if that's going to happen. It also wouldn't surprise me if we go with the O lineman like I was talking about. And that would not be, again, would not be as fun of a situation. Not really what I want to go with. Jeremiah says, do you think they should use pads for the combine so they get a real time? That's actually a good question. If they would say, hey, you got to put on all the equipment and run, you'd probably, I mean, it's a fair point. You get a more realistic time versus guys that are running in track attire, basically. Just like for the speed of it. Because there's guys, all the time that we've seen, you look at their 40 time and you watch them on the field, you're like, that doesn't exactly add up. If you were to compare the 40 times of what they ran versus on the field, they're just dudes that are faster in game for some reason, than what they are on the 40. So, I wouldn't mind it. Frankie Ray, due to NFL rules, Russell Wilson can only get the veteran minimum with his next team. With that being said, would you sign him as a backup to Jalen at that low price? Even with a low price, no. There's so many things that could go wrong and probably would go wrong in that scenario. Plus, I'm not looking to give any sort of, I don't know, like question or doubt or anything in Jalen's mind for one, but he's also your guy. And I don't even know what the deal, like the whole Russell Wilson drama and saga and everything else there. I don't know. There's just a whole lot of things that could go really weird in that scenario. So I would say let's just stay as far away from that as possible. Now, I know the potential was that Russell was going to come here, so maybe there's potentially some interest on Howie's side if he's still like, oh, we were going to try to, pull off a deal for him in the past. But no, I would say you get a veteran, either free agency of someone else who's a legit, not a threat to Jalen, not going to compete for the job, just there to help and groom and mentor, or maybe hey, you take a QB2 in the draft possibly, but even that, then you say, okay, well, are they competing for the job for Jalen? I don't know. It to me would feel more likely that you just go and get a backup that doesn't threaten and can only help Jalen. Yeah, seeing lots of people with the get rid of Bradbury comments. Yeah, like Ryan says, we lose Reddick. That changes the draft dramatically. Keeping Haas should be the first priority. Ben G, what's up? Swinging by saying, go Birds. Heck yeah, go Birds. Kenneth says, would you consider Xavier McKinney as the number one target for the Eagles to target? I think so. Outside of again, I'll go back to get Reddick done, and then move on to building the team through the free agency. Now that probably, I feel like it won't happen that way. I feel like it's going to be get some free agency acquisitions, and then maybe hopefully figure out something with Haas. But yeah, as far as just free agents out there, if I'm Howie and I'm looking at, hey, what do we want? And also you think about Fangio's scheme and his system and players that are really impactful. I don't know how he's not. I don't know how he's not your target, because we've talked about Andrew Van Ginkel, and I think that's a automatic lock if Haas does not stay here. But if he does, then it's much less likely. I don't think it's impossible. You still could see a lot of guys that are linked to Fangio or have ties to Fangio, played in the system, or even ties with some of the other guys. You got Cam Curl. Who was it? Was it Adams? Because the Seahawks releasing their dudes and connections with Clint Hurtt. So there's other potential players. Jordan Brooks, linebacker situations. Bobby Wagner, maybe, if you want to go older and target someone. So there's other guys. But I don't know. It's like longevity-wise, if you can get Xavier McKinney for long-term and you're able to get him to impact this defense, I think it's like a win-win, because you're not only solving the issue or the problem for this year, but you get a deal done for longer term, and you say, hey, you know what? This is one of our dudes. Like, this is a safety that we can considerably build the defense around and also get younger, but to have a presence back there that can play with some intensity. And who knows? I mean, maybe as soon as Sidney Brown gets better, because I'm not giving up on Sidney at all. I mean, I think there's tons of potential. So once Sidney gets healthy and he recovers from the ACL, whether that's in October, whether it's earlier, whatever, once he's 100%, I mean, yeah, you still probably go out and get some depth, but if Reed Blankenship ends up being just your backup, it's a solid backup. He's at least that. I mean, that's kind of the floor, but he can be a solid backup. And then you've got a Xavier McKinney and a Sidney Brown. I love that. I really do. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of targets, like, I don't know, it'd be right up there. If you want to throw out another linebacker, a prospect out there, or a linebacker to target, maybe. But I think so. The fact that McKinney was not tagged, Howie, it would just shock me if Howie is not sitting there going like, okay, we need to at least see as much as we can. How much is this thing going to cost to potentially bring in a Xavier McKinney here? I mean, heck, we all know, like, the teams of old, like, it's usually whenever we've had some really good safety play. Sorry, but I know that B-Doc and Malcolm Jenkins are the first two that come to mind, but there's some really strong safety play, and there's a reason that safeties make a huge difference. So if you can get someone like that, especially at his age, that has lots of potential, I'm all for it. Like Remo said here, this is a good one. Firefighter Howie said, "Thank you for your time. Dom will escort you out now." That's all he had to hear. He's like, "Oh, okay, all right, that's good." Moving on. Motivational Zone, what do you think about drafting Ennis Rakestraw Jr.? I think he's a decent possibility. He's been, I think there was one, I think PFN, if I'm not mistaken, had a mock draft of Rakestraw. There's been at least one, but yeah, I mean, his competitiveness really shows up from what I've seen, just kind of a couple different YouTube videos on him and kind of talking about his ability. So it'd be a possibility. There's like 5 corners that I've seen and kind of rotate through different mock drafts. I mean, I've seen, and some of them are like a trade up, some of them are a trade back a little bit. I started doing, I will say, I know you guys were asking about like mock drafts and everything else, but it was as a long drive, and like I mentioned, got back late last night. So I started doing some mock drafts of my own. The combine just ended, so, I couldn't help myself. But I don't like to do those until free agency, like I told you guys, because who knows what the team's going to look like. We don't know what the exact holes are going to be and where you could actually go and target. But I'll admit, I broke down and I just needed something to kill some time. So I ran some mock drafts, but there's a possibility of trading up, trading back, and some different guys there. But Rakestraw is one of those that I think that you could possibly get at 22. You may be able to trade back depending on how the draft's going. But he seems to be one as of the current mock draft. So again, it'll probably change drastically by the time that we get to April. But yeah, if you're able to maybe pick up an extra selection or an extra pick, or not have to give up too much, and you still take a guy like Rakestraw who can make it be a difference maker as a corner, I would be fine with that. The Real Trigger T, what's up? Definitely my favorite Eagles podcast. I started watching you at the beginning of last season. Keep it going. I appreciate that. Very much appreciated. Let's see here. And actually, you know what? Shout out to you guys. And let's actually do this. Speaking of just the support, and this made me think about it. But I'm gonna give away some memberships here. Let's give away 5 of these if I can figure out how to do this again. Because I was thinking about doing it, and then that just reminded me. Just appreciate the support. So the shout out on that side. This is totally random, but I'm gonna gift 5, and then the algorithm here. I don't exactly know how it determines who gets these things, but as long as you're accepting gift options are on, then you have a chance. So I'm gonna do it here in like a couple minutes just to make sure in case you don't have the gift options on. But I'll send that out there, and 5 people will randomly get the membership. So shout out to you. I appreciate that. So we'll do it in a second. I'm gonna maybe go with like one more question or 2 more questions, and then we'll get to that. Let's see. Yeah, while we're waiting on that, Hodge for 3 thoughts on Quandre Diggs or Jamal Adams signing. Yeah, they're potentials. They're possibilities. I don't know. Again, it always comes back to age for me. And so if you're looking at you're looking at someone to bring in, I don't know if Howie wants to, and he's even talked about it in a number of interviews now. So it's kind of like on one side, it's the realistic part of is it a good chance or a realistic chance of happening, but also it would help because we've seen the safety play. But I'm also kind of scarred of the Kevin Byard situation, and maybe he ends up showing something to a team next season. And there's certainly defensive coordinator issues that were in play. I'm not denying that. I think everybody realizes. But I really like the idea if you can get someone who's younger, not a 28 or a 31-year-old, but get someone who's a 24-year-old, like I mentioned with Xavier McKinney, or 25, 26 even. You still have like a 2-year difference where you're signing them to a contract. You could sign for a 3 or 4 year deal where you're going to get them all those years before they turn 30. That's where I would still lean towards. But yeah, I wouldn't hate it if you went with one of those options. Still, anytime I know this is really for everybody, but it's like that 30 number, and I hate it because I'm, over 30, 31. But it's like in football, in the NFL, like you're getting old. You're getting to the point where like, where is that dip off? And I know safety's different. You extend your career. You can play longer, so that's totally valid. But still, there's that element of like, you see the number, you see the 3, and it's automatically like, I don't know. Like there starts to be some questions, and there's naturally situations you look at contracts and comparisons there. Maybe it ends up being cheaper, so hey, that's another counter argument to that, and how he might go that direction. But I just personally, I'm thinking if we can get this defense younger, faster, athletic, intense, and have it set up for the long haul, that's where I would lean towards. So I don't know. I know there's connections obviously with Diggs and Slay, and it wouldn't totally shock me if you're going to go that, but I don't know if Howie's going to want to go and make kind of a stopgap of sorts, where it feels like it'd be a shorter term contract, or if he's saying, like he talked about in his previous presser, like we got to get the young guys more snaps. We got to get them on the field. We got to develop them. We got to, coach them up, train them up. Because I think he even realizes so many times, or too many times, it's like we don't either like develop our guys enough, or we develop them enough and then we don't re-sign them. And that the re-signing part's an issue because that's like you have control over that. So that's maybe not the best argument on his side, but still, like, you have some youth, so let's use it. Let's get them developed and get them in that situation. It's at least where I would be leaning towards. Yeah, I'm seeing the JPJ comments. Jackson Powers Johnson. Okay, let me. I'm gonna give out these memberships here. So good luck to everybody. Or let's see if I can go back over and do this now. But yeah, I'm gonna throw out 5 and good luck. 5 people will get them if you have the membership gifting option, or I guess accepting gifts turned on. So there you go. I think that did it. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. All right, 5 people. Private ETH, Screaming Jerry Lee, Henry 3000, Stevie Thomas, and Brendan Jackson. Let's go. You guys just got a month membership. Philly Special Show. But yes, going back to the comment here of Cam Jackson Powers Johnson, enough said. I mean, he does look like a stud. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be a stud in the league. Wherever he ends up, it's not impossible of Philly. But I'd have to think he's going to play right guard. He could certainly do that. Yeah, let me see. There's this one clip. There we go. There's the Jackson Power Johnson throwing people to other planets. Try to show some people up here. Definitely with a strength. A little bit of a hold or a grab there, but the athleticism that he has, without a doubt, there's so much potential there. I just don't know that you could. Do you go draft him? Because you surely have to trade up, right? There's almost no way. There's almost no way that he's there at 22. So if you trade up in that scenario, how much do you got to give up? And again, I'm personally of the opinion that Cam Jurgens is going to be really good. And yeah, like Chris says here, Jurgens is going to be great for us. I think that he's going to be really good. So it's not of the sense of saying, hey, Jackson Powers Johnson isn't. If he falls to 22, okay, that maybe is a different story. Regardless of what you want to do for right guard, hey, he could be a potential center. He could actually win out that job, or you could move him to right guard. I think that he has a lot better versatility, or he would be a better option at right guard than Cam Jurgens would be. So yeah, that's a no-brainer. But I mean, realistically, gosh, I don't know. I think it's probably what, 15, 17, something like that where he goes. Nate, what does your brother think about playing Dak or paying Dak? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. We actually haven't talked. I need to ask him specifically. We haven't talked about it in depth about paying Dak. We have talked about just the Cowboys in general, but he's kind of fits in the whole spot of I guess your typical, like, this is our year type of deal. And it's just, it's every single year, but that's the standard Cowboys fan comment. I don't know. He is. I will say he's on the, I guess, more so on the realistic side of the sense of being like, there's something with Dak Prescott, not like fully saying it that Dak Prescott is no shot at all, but the sense of saying like, yeah, Dak can play good in the regular season, but like it's frustrating because in the playoffs he does seem to just not quite be at that same gear. So he's not in total denial, but we haven't gotten into as deep of a conversation of like, okay, so do you want to pay Dak? Do you not want to? And he still is optimistic of being like, oh no, we can still do this. I think he bought in on the Jerry Jones, like we're going all in. Although I don't know exactly what that means and if we've seen anything that they're going all in yet. But hey, it's good luck to the Cowboys, and that's why we love it, right? I mean, it's just the uh, same ridiculousness every single year. That it's the belief of it's our year, yet it hasn't been in 30 years, 30 plus years. Donald, what's up? Says, do you think Kelce will come to camp and assist in coaching of O line, especially the center position? I would love it. I'd be great if he did. I mean, with his ability and just the knowledge that he has, everything else, he was already doing that or has been doing that with Cam Jurgens. So, but I mean, personally, if we get to pick, I think the vast majority. I'd be curious. Like, maybe let me start a poll here. Actually, let's just do that. What would your preference be? Let's see, for Jason Kelce's next career move. I mean, this is probably going to be too easy, honestly. But let's just put it out there. Eagles assistant O-line coach, broadcasting. What's another option of him that's been like rumored? Let's see. Sorry, going to start this poll here in just a second. What do you think? There you go. All right. We'll see. What do you think Jason Kelce's next career move will be? Eagles assistant line coach, podcast, and that's kind of generic, I know, but like podcasting and just kind of enjoying it. I guess a little bit more of a relax, but and then I had other too because I don't exactly know. But there's broadcasting as well. But yes, I mean to Donald's question, I would love it if he does come back and coach because I think that he has a ton of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge, information. As much as he loves Jeff Stoutland, and you heard it in his press conference, the two would work perfectly together. I mean, they would be just, I think, incredible. Yes, they butt heads, and Kelce, mentioned his frustrations or kind of the anger issues at times or whatever. But he handpicked Cam Jurgens for a reason. So yeah, like if you could get that dude to coach him up and continue from the center position, I'm all for it. I think everybody would be all for it. I don't know if that's actually what he does. Although 52% of people so far say that the next career move will be Eagles assistant O-line coach. I would love it. Yeah. Like, Extrice says Jurgens has more experience at center than JPJ, and Kelce handpicked Jurgens. He's got to play there for sure, without a doubt. Do you like cake? No, I'm not. I'm not a huge fan of cake. DeAndre Fields, what's up? How's it going? Frankie Ray reports our Swift is looking at the Commanders. Do you think that Howie wouldn't let that happen? I mean, I don't know. Maybe within the division, but again, it's like, okay, to what extent is he not going to let that happen? Like, is it a bidding war with the Commanders that we're talking about? Because, like, he's only going to pay so much. I think in his mind, he's probably already has his number. And he's probably had it for a while of what he's willing to pay. But it's see what option you can get, what offer you can get, what for which team, and then see if Howie matches it. I don't know. Is that and I'm curious too, because I think I saw there was like there's tons of predictions these days, like, hey, so and so's predicted to go to this team. Was there a report of Swift looking at the Commanders like himself, or because I saw there was like a Bleacher Report, wasn't it? Wasn't it Bleacher Report, or was there another one? Let's see. It's hard to say right now, obviously. Again, before free agency starts, which is, what, the 13th? Let me make sure that I'm saying that correctly, but... yeah. Beginning of new league year this year, Wednesday, March 13th, after 4 p.m. Eastern. So there's the free agency starting on that sense. And yeah, tons of rumors, speculation, but the only one that I know of, and I'm just trying to find it there, but that was the Bleacher Report columnist, Christopher Knox, who predicted the Eagles won't re-sign Swift and the Commanders will sign him for a 3-year, $18 million deal. So who knows? If that's all that it is, I don't know how realistic, or if it's just a rumor, speculation. Nobody knows, but I can't say that Howie's going to go out of his way to stop DeAndre Swift. It'll be if it makes sense financially. Otherwise, hey, you know what? Maybe you do go to a division rival and you play for them in that sense. But he'll have an opportunity if he wants to re-sign him. I don't know if he's going to end up paying that much. It is interesting though too. I know the regime has changed, so this really is probably a little bit more of a moot point now. But the Commanders, out of the last 6 years, have spent the least amount of money on running backs. So they're 32 and the Eagles are 31. Now, the philosophy is probably changing a little bit now, again, with the changing of the regime and who's in control of the organization. But still, I mean, say what you will, like which team spends on running backs and which team doesn't. For the last 6 years, the Commanders were dead last. Maybe they do finally splurge. Maybe they go get DeAndre Swift and they're willing to spend for him there. But yeah, I don't know if Howie's going out of his way necessarily to block something like that. Let me get the super chat here though. Let's see. Amit Blacks, appreciate this. The 2 says, "What do you think about wide receiver in second round?" I don't know. I don't think so. I know it's a fun pick, and I won't deny the fact that yes, I have taken a wide receiver in a couple mock drafts that I've done, so it's not impossible and it's not something that I hate. But just like if I'm realistically going through it, I can't do it because of the holes that we have right now. Maybe that changes. So ask me that question again after free agency and after we've signed some guys. maybe we look much better. Maybe it's like, hey, there's not as many holes. We have the luxury to just pick the best available player. And if that's the case, sure, why not? Let's add to it. Let's build up the offense. But I think there's way too many holes, like we talked about, especially on defense, to take I guess more of a luxury pick in a sense of a wide receiver. Plus, you've got, again, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Like, there's mouths to feed, and it wouldn't make as much sense to me because, again, you're signing a guy that, like, how many catches are we really talking about? How many targets are we really talking about? Does he impact the game as much as, name your player that you're going to be selecting there? And I just think that there's a lot more options in that sense. So I think it's extremely unlikely as of right now. It may change in free agency, but I just really can't see that because, like I was saying earlier, you're going to go for offensive lineman maybe early, and then you pick a defensive player or vice versa. I just can't see it being a wide receiver that quickly. Yeah, the Crypto Queen says his personality is too good to stay home. He's got to do something. Jasper, yeah, kind of talking about Swift there, but yeah, DeAndre Swift still going to go to free agency. It feels like it. It does. Yeah, I'm more inclined to go with what Tracy Ann's saying here too. Howie will probably just draft a running back in the 5th round. We have a ton of those comp picks. Might as well take one. It'd be great. It'd be nice if Swift stays. You keep your agent zero, the first zero ever. That'd be cool. I think he's got a ton of meat left on the bone. There's so many opportunities that we didn't give him or didn't take advantage of with him. So it'd be cool, but yeah, I think it's more realistic that you get the option there of taking a running back in the 5th round. Family YouTube, what's up? Says free agency is coming up. Who do you strongly believe Howie will pick up? That's a good question. I mean, like I said earlier, I would love for him to go after Xavier McKinney. I don't know if he's going to do the biggest splash or is he going to try to like kind of piecemeal this thing with like mid-tier players. I really hope not. I would love for him to make 1 or 2 big splashes. And it does come down to, like I was talking about earlier, Haason Reddick, and if you get that deal done. So I know this is kind of like a contingency answer, I suppose, but like if Reddick does not get signed, Andrew Van Ginkel is an automatic. I mean, that's to me as close as it gets to a potential of signing and bringing to the Eagles because of the Fangio connection, because you need that extra presence, especially if Haas is going to be traded and, look at that scenario. If not, if Haas stays, then I think that linebacker and safety are one of the top or the kind of the bigger priorities in the sense of free agency. So I've gone back and forth on a number of names. I mean, Josie Jewell, you get a Jordan Brooks, the ties with Clint Hurt, familiar with that type of scheme. Azeez Al-Shire, if you want to go with linebacker ties again, Bobby King from the Titans, and you get some extra intensity, so that would be a cool pick. I wouldn't mind that one. I don't know. There's a lot of names that I've thrown out there. I don't feel like it's going to be any sort of big name signing with the D line of a sense. I know I said Andrew Van Ginkel, but it's kind of linebacker / edge. So you play a hybrid of those, but yeah, I'm keeping my eye out for linebacker and safety, and we talked about it earlier. If you're just hopping on and joining too, but the whole Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams being released by Seattle, so there's some other names to throw out there. I think Cam Curl as well was another one. and Xavier McKinney, obviously. So you're going to be able to take your pick. I would just personally say McKinney is that top option. Have says, do you think J.J. McCarthy will be good? I don't know. I've gone back and forth on that, although it seems like he's getting a lot of traction from the reports of kind of post combine and um, his stock going up compared to some of the others. There was one. Where was that? There was a report of like he might be getting more stock, or some executives could see him being taken above a Jaden Daniels. But also, the hard part here, too, is that this is the time of rumors and smoke and mirrors and speculation and everything else. So, do teams or executives say things to make other teams be like, oh, hey, maybe we need to take J.J. McCarthy. Maybe we take him earlier and hope that a Jaden Daniels falls later? I don't know. It's hard to say because I think that you could probably make the case just as many times of saying like, hey, a player played with a good offense in college and, they were, in a sense, they were carried by really good playmakers in college. And then they go to the NFL and that hurts them because they're not used to, maybe a little bit more of a level playing field. They could go to a decent team, sure. But then on the flip side, you can make just as many cases and points to say they were a good player in college. They had a great team in college. And then they still went to a team that maybe wasn't as good, and they still had a great career. They played really well. So, I don't know. I really don't have as strong of an opinion, honestly, on that. I will say that I did think that C.J. Stroud would be really good, even after the whole, whatever that test was that he took. I can't think of the name of it right now. You guys, I'm sure, know. But the cognitive test that he took and the terrible score and, oh my gosh, this correlates to how a quarterback plays and everything else. I thought it was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But thought C.J. Stroud be a good selection so far, but who knows? It's 1 year. He could end up drastically, regressing, and then who knows where that's going to be. But we'll see. There is speculation, though. Like I say, he seems to be moving up people's draft boards if that's legit. Don Fanucci, should the Eagles draft wide receiver 3 or address it in free agency? I would say free agency. Go out and get someone who's a veteran, who's played with Kellen Moore, familiar with Kellen Moore, maybe able to optimize something there. Then figure it out on that side. But yeah, I would say probably more so on free agency. I agree with you. Yes, I agree with this, Donald, for sure. Get away from the 1-year contract, sign better players in free agency. Those that will be in prime for at least 3 years. We have to get younger. Please do that. Don't go with the 1-year stopgap older players. You're going to get a couple of those probably. So, I'm preparing for it on that side. But yeah, don't totally go that direction. Emily says Isaiah Rodgers is ready for a breakout year. I hope so. I hope he is. That's the one player that I've said a couple times too. Just the rust factor. I hope that there's not big ramifications from him sitting out, and okay, hey, he's whether it's regression or just taking time to get caught back up to speed or things like that. But I think we've seen players that have been in situations where they bounce back from it and they're in a really good spot, and then others that they're different in that sense, and they it affects them quite a bit, and they can't get back to that same level. So I hope that he does. I believe there's tons of potential in that scenario, and that's why Howie obviously made that move. So hopefully he's the guy. I hope you're right, Jeremiah, because I'm tired of hearing all the rumors about Haason. He's coming back. I don't care what anybody else says. I do believe though that Howie's going to figure out some sort of deal, but yeah, there's crazy rumors on he's gone, he's leaving, he's not going to be here, whatever. So I hope that's legit. Frankie, since we have 4 5th-round picks, what do you see Howie trading up in the or do you see Howie trading up in the draft? Yeah, I think without question. He trades. I think the average is what 4 trades a draft, close to it. So with that many 5th-round picks, that I can't imagine he's going to be like, oh yeah, let's just wait till the 5th and draft all those players. He's going to trade up at least once, probably a couple times, and then he may even trade back or something in that scenario. But yeah, that's where I would assume he's going to trade quite a bit. He'll be very active. Stuff 23, how much is McKinney? Who knows for sure? Spot Track has it at 10.4 is the estimated annual salary. If I had to guess, he's to get McKinney and the salary cap being higher, I would think it's probably going to be more of a 13 to 15 million. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's not near that level, but that's what I feel like it'll be. But who knows? Spot Track has it at 10.4. Hopefully it is 10.4. Yeah, like we source is saying here earlier, talking about the quarterbacks. Joe Burrow effect, Trevor Lawrence effect. Accuracy is very questionable. Yeah. Habe, what's your number one free agency pickup? Again, talked about it earlier, but I mean, I really think probably Xavier McKinney. It's probably where I'd be going with. That's what depressed Eagles fan says as well. Need McKinney from the Giants. Donald Rome priority signings. Reddick, big mobile, hard-hitting coverage linebacker, and big play safety. All under 30, then backfill in the draft. I'm all for that. Sign me up for that. Get younger, have a better presence on defense, have some sort of identity on the defense. If we could do that, that would be great. I know Reddick is technically, for anybody who's going to argue that, I know that's not getting younger. That's just keeping him there, and he's already going to be 30. But yes, in a sense of getting the linebacker, getting the safety, they will be under 30. Draft some guys under 30. You kind of just flip the defense and flip the whole mantra. It will be strange too. I know we were talking about this a little earlier, but Jason Kelce not being around, Fletcher Cox sounding like he's not going to be here. BG probably will, but it's a sense of like changing the guard and having some new leaders have to step up. So the question is, who's that going to be, and do you get someone in free agency that long term that becomes maybe one of those guys? I think that's something that Howie has to really look at, as opposed to maybe in the past, because you're going to have guys that are not going to be here for as long. Like you got Slay, who's I can't imagine he's getting another contract after this one. Like, this is it. James Bradbury I'm going to be shocked if he's on this team. They love Nakobe. I do think that Nakobe is going to get every single chance possible to be the starter, and he may be the starter because Howie loves him. And I have said it a number of times. I hope that he does well. I hope that he proves some people wrong and that he's able to stay healthy. But yeah, this team needs to get quite a bit younger. And Howie's emphasized it. He's definitely said that. Like Zach said, Philly needs to start building the Kelce statue. He deserves it. I mean, look at the legends of the team and everything else. The question I guess too is if you're going to build a statue for Kelce, what is it of? I mean, it made sense for sure. The Philly special, Foles and Doug Peterson, like that's too iconic. But like, which moment do you do? Is it the Mummer's suit? Is it Jason Kelce in the Mummer's suit? Like that'd be kind of it'd be hilarious, but also be like very iconic. Obviously, with the Super Bowl speech. But it's also kind of one of those like, okay, is that what you want, like lasting for forever? Or you could totally get like just a great iconic one of Jason Kelce, like walking off with his helmet in his hands or whatever. I could see that. But there's so many moments in his career. Curious of what do you go with for the Kelce statue? Let's see. And also, while you're answering that, you guys probably saw this, but today the Dolphins are releasing the starting linebacker Jerome Baker from the Dolphins. So they were trying to restructure the contract, didn't work, leaving the door open for him to come back if he chooses, but it's not 100%. So if you talk about a potential linebacker to go after, he does know the Fangio scheme. Who knows if he's one of the players that actually enjoyed playing for Fangio or if he's one of them that was talking poorly. I don't know, but it's a potential for linebacker. But I get it if, you're of the sense of every single time there's anyone who has any sort of links or ties to one of the coaches, or maybe even not, maybe no ties, it's like, hey, here's a free agent to be now. And they should be in Philly. They automatically get linked there. But you do have some potential. He does have really good coverage grade. So for people that are curious on that, his 27, 6'2", 225. Here, I'll share the PFF. But 74.4 coverage grade last season. 4.53. Like I said, has played with Fangio, knows the scheme. 2022 had a 70.7 coverage grade. And again, we obviously take PFF with a little bit of a grain of salt, so it's not everything. It's not the end-all, be-all, as everyone knows. But still, I mean, decent coverage grading. He's a bigger linebacker in that he's 6'2". If you're going to pair him up, possibly. It could be. It's certainly worth a look. I'll say that. But still, it does come to the question of, or a couple of different questions to that of, does he like Fangio? Can he stand him? Does Fangio think that he's a good possibility? And is Howie willing to go out there and make a potential signing? The Crypto Queen, yeah. Mummer suit, John Kempsky, Mummer. Zachary, him in the mummer suit. Yeah, I mean, I figured that would be probably the favorite. I see Birds fan, him over the ball calling out protections. I could see that. Dame, the belly sticking out, Batman mask out, Batman mask on, holding the helmet in the air. That is the statue. I could picture that one too. Will Kelly, him dancing with Miles. Yeah, but Miles isn't getting in there, so I guess you could just have him like in the dancing motion by himself. Philly fan, they need to retire his jersey number for sure, without question. I mean, yeah, that has to be automatic. Lou Branch, I believe we're going to take a step back before taking a step forward. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot riding on the free agency and a lot riding on draft. We'll say that. If you don't drastically improve on those areas, specifically the defense, but don't make some things happen, you're for sure going to do that. You're going to take a step back. But even still, there's things to be proven, so I won't knock that. Curious, how big of a step back are you talking, Lou? Like what record would you envision, I suppose, as far as what does that mean, step back? Uncle 3 times shirt off scream at the Buffalo game. Okay. I mean, there are ridiculous, like events or, just pictures, images of Kelce, but as much as I love it, as much as I laughed at that situation, I'm pretty positive they're not going with the Kelce shirt off. You put a statue. Can you imagine? You put a statue of Kelce at the link, and it has nothing to do with anything Eagles. Like it's a game in Buffalo that the Chiefs were playing, and yes, he went viral, but there's nothing that even has anything to do with the Eagles. I mean, I love the guy, but that's not that one is for sure not going up. Yeah, Zach says the next few years are going to be tough. Kelce retired this year. Cox may also retire. Um, Graham, obviously, yeah, last season, final ride. And then Lane probably be done 2027. Yeah. It's going to feel weird. I mean, you look at the, what's the video? I think it's like, what's it called? It's like the Leaving a Legacy or something like that. It's on the Eagles YouTube channel, but they did kind of that like unscripted video format to it. But those are the icons. I mean, those are the leaders who've been here for forever, and they're all slowly going. You have a changing of the guard and new faces. Hopefully, guys that can live up to those standards, live up to those expectations. But it's gonna be strange. It's gonna be weird having those dudes leave. It already is, but like I said earlier, I don't think it's going to fully hit me until the season starts. Keith Hollenberg says most people being released are being released for a reason. That's fair. That's true. Need to build in the draft with younger players or younger defensive players. I'm totally with you on the younger defensive players. We got to upskill and get younger. Mr. Bo, with Fangio here, you need to prioritize linebacker more than ever. With the cap up, Queen should be the priority free agent, 2 All-Pros and young. Cornerback has to be priority in the draft because linebackers aren't the best. Maybe so with Queen. I feel like we're just not going to be able to compete with whoever wants him. You're right with the cap being up. That we have decent money. But so does everybody else. So it's kind of like where That's where I think that it helps us on the extension for for Haason Reddick, because we have more money, but it's like, Reddick is not on the open market. Like, he's still got the year, so we kind of, I don't know, we can kind of move that money around or dictate that more. So I think that's a very big benefit if you're trying to extend players to use that money now because of the cap. But for free agency, it's kind of like, it's not really, it doesn't really matter, because again, like, we're middle of the pack about in terms of free agency space. But like, if, Chicago or the Commanders or, someone who has a crazy amount of cap room wants to just go out there and take whoever, then they pretty much can. I mean, unless the free agent's just like, no, I don't want to go play for that team, there's tons of cap space and they can just go sign, name your price and, hey, you can come play for us. So maybe not. If you want to go out there, it just feels like that's going to be Patrick Queen of maybe one of the top names, maybe not the top name, but in terms of free agents, I don't know. I don't know if that's the one that you're able to, and does Howie decide to finally spend really big on a linebacker in that sense? I don't know. Iron Gamer, I can't remember if I said this earlier, but statue of Jason Kelce with a Batman mask on. Lou says, as long as I can see the team going upwards, I'm good. That's fair. Asif, where do you think the Eagles are going in the draft, and where do you think we're going in free agency? Yeah, I think it's more likely that we're going to go linebacker and safety in free agency. It just feels that way to me, especially, you take a look at some of the players that got tagged, the way that you would need to trade for those in that instance. And corner can be fickle, as we know. I mean, like, I hate to always bring up that point, but there's many other instances, the most recent of a James Bradbury situation. But I think you say, hey, look, you know what? We trust your grading, trust your evaluations. Go into this draft. There's a ton of depth at corner. And sure, there's some players, that you could say, hey, maybe they're worth taking on for safety and linebacker. Love Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper is the number one linebacker for me. There's a couple of safeties that you could take. But I just feel like if you're going to go and you look at who's available of those positions, it feels like there's a better chance to go out and spend some money that you have. You don't have crazy money, but you have a decent amount of money, and get your linebacker, get your safety figured out, and then you can go into the draft and say, hey, look, we've got Slay. He can be solid, he can be okay for another year. Don't know anything beyond that, but for 1 year. Keely Ringo, I think that there's some potential there, quite a bit of potential, and draft a guy. I would love it to be first round. You guys know I want it to be Quinion Mitchell, but if it's another corner and it's in the first round, that's great. To me, I love that option, because then you say, hey, we've got Slay, and we're going to play our first round pick. And then Keely Ringo can still continue to improve. He can be your backup option for one of those guys. If Slay falls off a cliff this year because of age or whatever, you got Keely Ringo. You got some other depth too. I'm not saying that's the only corner that you draft, but as deep as that position is, and Daniel Jeremiah saying that he thinks there's 15 corners that can go in the first 3 rounds. I mean, that speaks for itself. The depth in that situation. So I would say you lean into that and go where the value is, and you draft those players in the positions. You handle free agency with linebacker, safety, and also O-line. I mean, that's a kind of a given. It seems like we would naturally go that route. But in the draft some O-linemen. But I would prefer it to be later. Let's use it early selections on the defense. Find a guy that is maybe a little bit raw and use him as Stoutland can, unless there's, who knows? Maybe there's an interior O-lineman that fell to you at a great spot and you take him there. That's fine. But I still don't really want it to be at the first round selection. But if it's later, hey, second round, whatever, you can take him in that sense. But yeah, if I had to guess, that's what I'm thinking. You spend money in those positions in free agency, and then you draft and get your corner, hopefully. Fanny Eagles fan says sexy Batman for the statue. Mersey says fat Batman. Okay. Donald says over the ball pointing. Depressed Eagles fan says Fangio should use Nolan Smith the way he used Van Ginkel. I would love it. That is he's going to get used a lot more, so that's a benefit. And talked about that in the last video that I dropped last week. It's been a while, but just getting back late last night. So the last video, was I guess what was that? This is Wednesday? Yeah, I guess it was. Been quite a while, but yes, talked about Nolan Smith there. I think that the potential that Fangio brings to help him, he got a redshirt season of sorts. There's some potential there. Move him around, use his athleticism. I think that he can be pretty good. There's some, speaking of, just not being fully there with pass rushing moves and a little bit raw, but Nolan's in the same spot. But I think he can be taught and coached up in that area. But yeah, I definitely look for a lot bigger things from Nolan Smith this coming season. That is without question. Jeremiah says the statue of him posing for sexiest man alive. That would be a pretty good one there. Keith saying the Eagles will never win with his bend but don't break defense. Corners and safeties giving up 10 yards. They'll always give up the middle of the field. Reddick will play off-ball linebacker now. I don't necessarily disagree with the whole I don't love that defense. I think you can manage with it. I personally am with you in the sense that I don't love it, and yeah, you're giving away free yards and points and everything. But the goal is to limit, make them march down the field, put together long drives, and then hopefully you stop them for field goals rather than touchdowns. I don't know that Reddick's going to play off-ball linebacker. He's going to have to drop back in coverage for sure, but even in Fangio's scheme, he wouldn't play off-ball line. He would still be edge. He'd still be linebacker or edge, however you want to classify that. But he's not like long-term off-ball linebacker option. It's just he's going to be asked to probably, I would guess, 15% of the time drop back in coverage. And yeah, maybe that's a little high. I don't love saying that whenever it's Haason Reddick, but it's what it's what you have to come to expect with a Fangio defense and a Fangio system. Yeah, lose as far as take a step back is just no playoffs. So no playoffs this year. I would hate to see that, but it's to Zach's point, and like we were talking about earlier, but Howie needs to hit in this year's draft and free agency. It is a very vital situation for Howie and what he can do with this team. Can he prove it? Is he able to finally show up? I shouldn't say finally show up, but is he able to have a much better free agency period in this year? And is he able to finally target a linebacker or willing to go that route? I hope so, but I really do believe that, especially with this defense, you need to get a linebacker and you need to get a safety. Does he finally do that? And yes, Lou did say he hopes he's wrong. I mean, so I appreciate that. Yeah. But I also can appreciate trying to be real and what you feel like this team's going to be. Hopefully they can. Hopefully Howie can hit on him. A recital, Cam Curl worth a look? Yeah, possibly. I think, honestly, everyone is worth a look. Not that that means they're coming to Philly or should come to Philly, but Howie's going to be doing that. And that's the beauty of it is, hey, you know what? Anyone that's even a potential, you got to believe, you better believe that he's doing his due diligence and say, okay, hey, let's think about him. Let's at least put it out there of, is he an option? Is he a possibility? He would not be my first choice. There's, again, I would say personally it's Xavier McKinney. I would assume that Cam Curl is probably in the, I don't know, probably in about the same range pay wise for Xavier McKinney. But yeah, sure, he's worth a look. A potential option there. What is he, 6'2"? And he's young, right? He's like 25, 20. Or is he younger than that? Is he 24? Let's see, what is he? Yeah, 24. Going to be turning 25 here soon. So sure, I mean, again, at the age, I love the idea. If you're going to look at any targets, make sure that they're young in my mind. I mean, I just don't want to go out there and sign a guy, even if it's for like a 2-year deal. I would prefer, hey, go make a longer term signing. Sign someone if you really believe in them, 4-ish years, and get them young so that they're in their prime, like Donald was saying earlier. That would be my line of thinking on that side. Go Philly says Mummer. So of course, I am a Mummer. So of course I'm pulling for the Mummer suit. Okay. Philly fan says, who do you think will be the starting role to replace Jason Kelce? Cam Jurgens, without a doubt. I mean, I'll just say it. I'll be shocked. If Cam Jurgens does not start, I will be absolutely shocked. Yeah, Donald says, only move for Bradbury's out. It's the only thing that I could see. Zach says first 3 picks need to be defense. I agree for sure. Michael, Josh, where you been? Yeah, I appreciate you asking. I mentioned it on the live show and then the video itself, I guess right before I left. But I know it's been a while. It's been just about a week. But went on a bachelor trip cruise with the bros. So my younger brother David is getting married in like 3 weeks, I think. So yeah, I had a bachelor trip, went to Cozumel on a 4-day, 5-day. It was too quick, whatever it was. So it's like I was saying at the beginning of this, it was strange not being able to be connected. I was trying to get the Wi-Fi package, but the service was all messed up and everything. So I was literally not able to see much of anything, at least nothing with service. Yeah, there's some TVs there for anybody that's taking cruise, you know that, but it was very strange to be so disconnected. But we're back. We're back. And Talking Birds should be back to our mostly regular scheduled programming. I will say for everybody that missed the Friday night hangout, it's gonna be weird because this is a crazy month, and I know that. So we'll try to do as many lives as possible. Unfortunately, there will not be a Friday night hangout again this week. I'm gonna be helping out with the kiddos and wife, and there's now the bachelorette outing or whatever. So my wife is going to be doing that. So I'll be unavailable. So again, just for people that are thinking maybe or wondering why, there will not be a Friday night hangout, but we will have it the following. So whatever that is, that's the 16th or something like that. What is the official date? The 15th. So the 15th we will have the hangout. And then the following weekend, my brother's getting married, so we won't do it again. I'll give you a heads up. But it like I say, it's going to be kind of a crazy month, so it'll be kind of on, off. But as much as we can. But we are here, like I said, back to getting on. Let's see here. Hey, Squeak, hey, what's up? Says the defense is my only concern for this upcoming season. I would say for me, it's mostly that. I'm curious to see. I'm not really concerned, I guess, but it's I don't know what the right wording for it is. There's not a concern, but there's a is anxiousness technically classified in that area? Maybe I don't know the right word for it, but somewhere in that range for the offense. I'm very optimistic, but I'm also like, hey, I want to see it and prove it to me. I want to see Jalen with Kellen Moore. I think it's going to be so much better, and the receivers too. I mean, just be able to get something there. Iron Gamer Philly should erase the wide receiver screen. I think that's what that is. Erase the wide receiver screen. Yeah, I don't really want to see wide receiver screens, and thankfully Kellen Moore's got a lot of other options. There may be a few, but there shouldn't be too many wide receiver screens. Vic says, who will be the running back? That's a good question. I mean, assuming that DeAndre Swift is not the guy, not going to be hanging around, because that's still what I'm predicting and holding on to. I would love for him to be here. I just think that some team's going to be willing to pay him more money, and Howie says, sorry, I'm not going to pay that. I think it'll be Kenny Gainwell and draft a running back and see kind of a combo between a rookie and Kenny Gainwell. I don't love that option, but I also don't see them spending big money on somebody. Maybe you get a vet who's willing to take a deal that's, I don't know, nothing crazy, but there's other areas that I think you need to spend, and I would assume that Howie Roseman's going to go that route. So it wouldn't surprise me if, like someone said earlier, I think it was Tracy Ann, if I'm not mistaken, but said the 5th round, use one of the comp picks on a running back and go that route. Josh, love the name, as always. Says, big fan, appreciate it. But do you think there's a chance at signing Xavier McKinney? I really do. I totally understand, too, I mean, questions or if there's even like a skepticism with cost and the other areas that we need to fill and look at our cap room, that it's good. I mean, it's middle of the pack, but it's not towards the upper end, the upper echelon. But I really think that Howie is going to, I don't know if overcorrect is maybe too extreme, but I think that he's going to take a look at it and he do some self-reflecting and say, hey, look, you know what? Obviously I missed, but learn from that mistake and say, okay, this is what we need. And he talked about, asking Fangio where he needs to, get better at or what he needs to improve. So he knows. I mean, he's going to go into it. He probably already knows now for sure. But I mean, I'm just saying he's going to go into free agency saying these are the areas that we need to target. This is what Fangio's defenses need, what he prefers, and where he's probably gotten a little extra input from Fangio to say we're weak in this area, or I don't see a future with, name your player, whoever it is. And I think that there's some weaknesses for many of the positions, like we've all seen. I mean, certainly on the defense. So, I kind of think that he might. I kind of think that if you're going to make a splash, a bigger splash, that it's a possibility for Xavier McKinney, and I would love to see that. We talk about the estimated value. Spot Track has it at 10.4. To me, that seems low. I'd think he's more in the 12 to 15 range. But even for that, annual contract of 12 to 15, you get something done long term. I just like the idea of having a younger presence back there. but someone who's proven too that they can make an impact. They can make a difference. So yeah, I don't know. I do think there's a chance, like percentage wise, if I was going to throw that out there and say what's the percentage chance for the Eagles to actually get this to happen or sign Xavier McKinney. I don't know. Everybody he's gonna have a market for him for sure. I don't think that's a question with his age and ability and everything else. I don't know, 30% maybe. Go with like a 30% chance, and I think that I feel like that's a decent number. Because again, there's lots of other teams out there looking to get him. So yeah, that's what I go with. I'd say there's a 30% chance, knowing the areas of weakness that we have and what Fangio needs on that defense. You could certainly have that as a possibility. So that's what I'm going with anyway. A Squeak A, another question is who's going to be our next OC after Kellen Moore resurrects our offense? Hopefully he does. When he pulls this off, he's going to be going to try to get a head coaching job somewhere else. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part about performing well, especially with Sirianni not being the person for the offense and not being that offensive guru or mastermind in that sense. So I don't know. I really don't know that question, to be honest. And that's the thing that I keep on saying is the negative about this is if we do well, the only solace or the outcome that you could maybe be reassured in is like, can it be good enough to resurrect the offense that you win a Super Bowl? Like if we lose Kellen Moore because we won a Super Bowl, all right, fine. Like it'll be disappointing because you could say, well, it'd be great to just keep these players intact or keep these coaches intact. And now we're going to have to just relive or kind of go through this same scenario that we've been going through. But if it gets you a Super Bowl for it, then you kind of get past that one a little bit easier. But I don't know. I really don't. Next OC, if it's after Kellen Moore, you'd have to really do some searching. I guess I really am at a loss, but we're gonna probably be in that boat, and that's the sad part is if the way that Sirianni is right now, and the lack of his ability for the offensive side and having this scheme in the system, it's gonna be a recurring issue as long as Sirianni's the head coach. So. Yeah. However that plays out, we'll see. Let's see here. And it says the running game sets up the passing game. We didn't have that last year because of coaching. We did with Steichen. Yeah, I mean we all miss Steichen. I don't think that's a question. But the game plan will be better. I don't know necessarily if Kellen Moore situation. I don't know that he's going to be running the football to set up the passing game. Everybody that knows Kellen Moore realizes that it's going to be more often passing. But it will be better because we've talked about like the play action that you're going to get, the differences there. Jalen will be under center. You're going to have different looks that the defense can't always account for. So it'll be positive. Joran, what's up? Says, will Jack Driscoll have a starting role? I hope not. I absolutely hope Jack Driscoll. I mean, I don't know. With another team, possibly. He's a free agent, so he'd have to be signed back here. If he gets signed back and comes back, then he's going to be, he's just a backup. Like he's not a starter for any position there. But maybe another team views him that way, and he does. He did get married, so shout out to Jack on the wedding. Seeing some of the guys there. Let's see. Josh says, out of all the backs in free agency, who would you want? And do you think Howie takes a look at Runyon Jr.? I mean, I guess first off with the Runyon, I don't see why not. Anytime that there's depth in that situation, especially for the O line, I would assume that Howie is definitely going to rely on Jeff Stoutland. I mean, I would, heck, if he can do what he can do to Mailata and just name all the others. I mean, the amount of all pros and awards and everything else that the O-line's gotten since Stout's been here, it's really a question of just, hey, Stout, what do you think? Do you see him as a possibility? All right, sure, let's pursue. So I think that he would. But yeah, as far as the backs, let's see. I don't know. Let's take a look at it and just see. I'm assuming the running back situation and who's available. Like, see, I just don't know personally if I want to spend a ton of money on running back. And I know some people are. Some people look at King Henry and he might be a possibility. There's Howie being interested in the past on him. Saquon Barkley's not getting tagged, so he's out there. If people, might be interested, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, some speculation. I can't remember who had the prediction that the Philly might go that route. You could reunite the Memphis backfield, I suppose, have Kenny G and Tony Pollard together. Eckler, familiar with Kellen Moore. There's options here. I just really don't want to. If it's not Swift, I mean, I would say, to me, if I'm just looking at free agency and like how much you're gonna have to pay, DeAndre Swift feels like the best. It feels like the most efficient. If you're going to spend money, just re-sign DeAndre Swift. Now there's still, Devin Singletary, Gus Edwards. Maybe I could be talked into. Trying to look if there's really anybody else. I know A.J. Dillon's been a name that some people have been throwing out there, but he has not ever lived up to the hype, if you want to call it that, or just whenever he gets a chance behind Aaron Jones. And then Zach Moss is another one I've seen a couple people throwing out there. But yeah, overall, like, if I'm looking at this, I don't want to break personally, and you guys can call me crazy. It may be crazy. Maybe you should be thinking differently in this route. But I really don't want to break the bank on a Derrick Henry. I don't want to spend big money. He's a stud. He probably does. He probably proves people wrong and has another couple years of really strong seasons. I just don't really see it as much. I would prefer DeAndre Swift. You can get him for cheaper. He's younger, and I think there's still lots of options. I know that he's not your power back. And there's an argument to be made of, hey, get a power back combined with Kenny Gainwell. That's fine. I'm just not as much there. Josh Jacobs, I just don't really want to spend that much, nor do I see that. To me is way too high for Howie to spend in that situation. And Saquon Barkley, kind of the same deal. Also the injury history, the usage, everything else. And then, kind of address Tony Pollard, Eckler. Again, you just look at the potential of how much that's going to cost. I just, the more that I look at it, the more that we continue to talk about it, I feel like either if you really want to solve it in free agency, you re-sign DeAndre Swift, unless, maybe he gets a crazy, crazy deal and a ridiculous number that you're not willing to sign, but otherwise you bring him back or you go to the draft. So personally, that's kind of the area that I'm on. All right, we'll go a couple more questions here. I got to jump off here in a bit to help the wife with bedtimes and everything. But Elisa, how's it going? I know, sad week. Yes, very, very sad week for Philly. But appreciate you hanging out. Vigilant Tracker says raised helmet Kelce statue. Yep, I could definitely see that. Like I said, draft, I'm still high on Bullard and Trotter. That's fair. But if we get Cooper or Colson, I won't complain. Also, after the combine, I like Chop. Man, he's crazy, ridiculous athletic. Donald says, yeah, Cam gets first shot at center. Depressed Eagles fan wants CJ GJ to come back. Wouldn't hate it. How much is he willing to take, or how much does it take for him to come back, though? That's the question. Is he willing to, return after the really strange breakup or whatever we want to call that? A Squeak A says, will this be the year Howie grabs a linebacker in the first 2 rounds? It would be awesome if he did. In a lot of my mock drafts, or pretty much all of them, it was try to take a corner in the first round. Like you're saying, I believe he'll go corner. Take a corner in the first round and then take a linebacker in the second, which, again, speaking of the mock drafts, we will start having those. They'll be on the Friday nights. We'll do the Friday night hangout and do some mock drafts together. So some live mock drafts. Like I've mentioned too, though, it will be after free agencies kind of, solidified who's going where, holes that have been filled, and things like that. But just for, people that are wondering, we'll hang out. We'll have a good time. Probably do put up polls and, interactive of who we should draft, who we should go after at certain picks, things like that. But yes, we'll definitely start getting those going. Yeah, Blast agrees, says that's what I'm saying, just re-sign him. I'm right there with you. Well, like Zach says, Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be a solid, in my opinion, and he would be cheap. That's sure he would be cheap. I could see possibility. I mean, he's shown some flashes for sure. Definitely even in the playoff situations, but Tracy Ann also with the comment previously about Kellen Moore says, I'm not worried if we lose Kellen due to our success. It would probably just attract more talent at OC to Philly if they see it as a stepping stone to HC. That's true. That's a good point. Still a little bit, personally, I would prefer it. I do prefer it whenever your head coach is, the mastermind behind everything, because it feels like there's more longevity. But it is a good point. Like if you lose him, you'd have to think it's a chance to get a young up and coming or, strong OC to see as a potential to use it as a stepping stone. I just don't like that whole idea of it's a continual, I don't know, it's like a positive revolving door, if that makes sense. Usually the revolving door is like a negative connotation, especially like having worked in HR and recruiting and things like that. It's like, oh man, we have to always fill this position. It's kind of a good thing because it's like if people ask, hey, why was the position open in the first place? Oh, well, it's someone got a head coaching job. So it's a good helpful event in terms of like what you're recruiting for, but still it's like, here we go again, like as fans, it's a never ending, I don't know, issue or situation or whatever, that we've kind of put ourselves in. So A Squeak A says, who's wide receiver 3? I don't believe Zacchaeus was given a good opportunity to replicate a good year he had with Atlanta the year before. Maybe we draft Lad McConkey from Georgia. I would love Lad McConkey. I just feel like it's too high, too early to draft him. Like I was saying kind of earlier in the live stream, it seems like it'd be, if I had to guess, I think it'll be free agent, and you go with someone that's more of like a $3-4 million a year, someone who's played with Kellen Moore, familiar with that scene or scheme. I think that Noah Brown has been maybe the most often that I've seen kind of linked to Kellen Moore, just with the ties and possibility on that side. But yeah, I think there's a couple different ones. Okay, cool. Zach agrees. I hope everybody does too. I hope that's a good plan as far as the mock drafts. Solid plan to do it after free agency to see where we stand. Because hopefully maybe we're in a better spot right now, or a better spot in terms of like agreeing, okay, hey, here's what we need to go after with the draft. Because if we do it right now, you can make the case for just about anything. There's still some agreement for sure, but there's so many holes and options and everything else. So All right, I'm going to do a couple more questions here, and then I am going to jump off. Like I said, I got to run help the wife, who's been the total MVP. Is always the MVP, but she deserves quite a bit, especially with being gone on the cruise and handling everything, and then jumping on for the live stream. So appreciate you guys hanging out and everything here. But we'll give it a couple more, and then I'm gonna hop off. But let's see. Louis says, how many years we still have AJ? Think 2 on this positions. Make total sense. Draft a wide receiver now, wide receiver 3 now, to be a future wide receiver 2 with Smith. Yeah, I mean, I know you got to always think like longevity wise, but at the same time, I don't think you can get too caught up in the fact of saying like, well, hey, he's got 2 more years on his contract. Is he going to be here? Is he not going to be here? How much do you want to pay him? All those sorts of things. I mean, longevity wise too, like he's 26. Devontae is, another guy that I think for sure we would all agree, like, hey, you need to have Smitty. You need to have AJ. You need to have Smitty. It's a fair point. I mean, I get it. You drafted a guy and you're able to save money of having someone on a rookie contract, but I don't think that you go that route, seeing the holes like we've talked about. In this draft, I mean, unless maybe, hey, if you draft a wide receiver 3 that's late, like you take a 5th round selection and he turns out to be a stud, and then he can be a potential, wide receiver 2 in the future if, let's say, it doesn't work out with a contract renegotiation in the future, or trying to get an extension done, or whatever the case may be. But personally, I would want to have those 2 here locked up for as long as we possibly can have them. And again, going back to what the holes that you have on this team, it's just, it doesn't feel like that's the smartest decision to go for. I understand like planning for the future, but if you're thinking about drafting wide receiver 3 now, that 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, however you want to look at it, whenever his contract's over, can be that future wide receiver 2. I think that's a little bit too drastic or a little bit too early planning. I know sometimes you draft a guy in the future for O-line and it works out that way, but it's even more so like a 1 year early. Personally, I would say if you're going to spend capital, it's got to be on the defense. At least if it's a high pick. We need guys to contribute. You got that window. You got a lot of skilled players. You got your coaches. Get some guys earlier now. And, heck, if you want to, like, AJ's got 2 years, so wait at least a year. Then maybe go and draft someone. You can find someone, whether it's free agency, whether it's a late draft pick, and then maybe you get lucky, like I said. But if not, okay, hey, you know what? You took a guy who can be your wide receiver 3. They can be serviceable. I mean, heck, we made the Super Bowl. As much as we don't like Quez Watkins, we made the Super Bowl and should have won the Super Bowl. You could very much argue that with a Quez Watkins as wide receiver 3. So, and look where he was drafted. You're not having to draft super high. So if you want to go out there and make a selection like that, I'm fine with a 5th round selection, but it doesn't need to be crazy capital for that either. That's not, in my mind, what's going to push us over the hump for a Super Bowl in the next couple of years. Longer than that, sure, maybe you do need to start thinking, but I think there's other positions we could go with. Ace Week, I'll try to catch the beginning of the chat. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, bro. I appreciate it. That means a lot. Appreciate that. Let's see. Clap. Do you think the Eagles would draft Malik Mustafa for free safety? I don't know. Let's see. Where is he projected? Isn't he? Is he Wake Forest? Maybe I should know that better. Yes, he is. Okay, so it's I I know they're kind of all over the place with the projections now, but let's see, PFF is 158 on the average draft position. Okay. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, not gonna lie. I have not gotten like a lot deeper into draft prospects, so I can't give a great answer on that, to be honest, because again, I was even like curious or questioning if or not 100% on that. So I need to look into it more. The fact that it's a safety, automatically is like, hey, maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, I need to look into some of those deeper draft selections and things like that. So, and we'll certainly do that because again, once we start having these mock drafts on Friday nights and getting into who we need to go after and things like that, I should hopefully have a much better understanding and having actually looked at those players. But right now, I would probably be a disservice to weigh in because I don't know enough, quite honestly. So talk about the wide receiver. D Shadow said a lot of depth in wide receiver. Might be able to get someone late. John Kemsky, thanks. I appreciate it. Zapper guy, go help your wife. Have a good night. I appreciate it. I will. We are going to sign off here in just a second. Mark Anthony, how's it going? Says, do you think Zach Ertz will eventually come back to help us win a bowl? I don't know. I do think that he's going to come back to officially retire as an Eagle, but I don't know. I unfortunately, I don't think that him coming back is really going to, help us necessarily to win a bowl, but he'll, like Donald asked, well, Zach will come back to retire, question mark. He'll come back to retire. He'll for sure do that. But again, even if he came back, it's not like, I mean, maybe he's your tight end too, but unfortunately, I just don't think that he's got a ton left. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think that he's got a ton left to like push a team over the edge and really help us to win a Super Bowl. I don't know. Heck, look at how long it took him to sign. Eventually, he did sign with Detroit. He didn't do anything, but he eventually signed. Like, if he was that upper echelon level, as soon as the Cardinals were like, hey, you're good luck. You're released. Go sign with whoever you want to. Sign with a playoff contender. It probably wouldn't have been a question. It would have just been like, oh, man, he's automatically snapped up by any of the playoff contenders. But it took him like, I mean, what was it? We talked about it in, what month was that? It was like, was it late November or like early December? Something like that. And it was 4 weeks, 5 weeks, maybe longer before Ertz got signed. So I don't know, but yes, I would love for him to come back even just for the retirement and retire an Eagle. I think he for sure will do that. I just don't know how much he'll actually, be of service and be able to provide on the field, but I could be wrong. Maybe he does. Philly Sports Hustle. Josh, how much sleep are you getting with the new kiddo? It depends. It just depends on, the night, I suppose. But it's been good. Very blessed. Love being a girl dad, like I've said. Hearing Kelce talk about that in the press conference really got to me. So as John was asking, how's it being a dad? It is incredible having two girls, a 2-year-old and a 1-month-old, a little bit older than 1 month. It's the best, I mean, there's some parts that you have to just manage, and that's the lack of sleep, but it comes with the territory. Wouldn't trade it for the world. It's challenging. Yeah, there's good days and bad days, I guess, in sense of just schedule and chaos and everything else. But without a doubt, could not do it without my wife. She is the absolute best. So to answer the next question, Iron Gamer, how long is the stream going for? I'm literally about to sign off. It is like here in 30 seconds probably. So I appreciate you guys. Lad McConkey, appreciate you for hanging out. I don't think that's the actual Lad McConkey, but still appreciate you hanging out. We source quality content from you. It's clear you do your homework. Enjoy your evening. I appreciate that too. Appreciate all you guys. Again, it's a blast. Love getting insight, questions, thoughts, everything else. Y'all know that it's going to be crazy here in the next few, or I guess about a week now. I mean, literally it'd be a week and a day whenever the NFL free agency hits. So once that does, we're going to have a ton of content. Still have content coming up, so hopefully can get a video out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. But Wednesday night, Wednesday link with Thomas will be tomorrow. And then again, just a reminder, no Friday night hangout because I'm going to be taking care of the kiddos as my wife deserves a break. So appreciate you guys. Until next time, we'll see you. Go Birds.